How is my audio?
It's tough to tell because you were talking so slow, but it still kind of sounded a little loud. Not gonna lie.
Am I normal?
Now you're normal.
Okay, this show, it's cursed. Every time I come on, it sounds. What does it sound? I've never even listened back to it. I don't even know what it is.
You sound fine now. It just sounds like muffled, delayed combination.
Okay. Well, now my
Maybe I should bring it in. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Lulz. How's that? How's that?
We should because we did. God damn it! Now my mic is my camera got all out of whack. There we go. We had the 1 week where Kitchen was out on the Swolecast, and we had Tuttle host, and everyone loved it. I think we should do. This is what's going to happen, Brian, and this ties in with the Tuttle thing. Next week is Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That is infamously known as Blackout Wednesday.
That's right.
And I might start drinking at 2:30 for the Swolecast to get it, see if I can make it till ship chasing.
I don't know if I could do that Wednesday. I forgot. Let me see.
Yeah,
we might have to do it earlier or skip
honestly,
it. Or maybe we could do it. If you're going to be drunk the whole time, maybe I have to make it happen somehow.
I will say, like, I'll be flexible. Like, if you want to do like an early afternoon show, I'm down.
Oh, maybe we can. Let me check. I should know the answer to this, but I don't.
You got family stuff for Thanksgiving going on?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to be?
My parents' house this time.
Nice. Are your parents in Chicago?
They're in the suburbs.
Nice.
Hey, nice. You're watching Lulz.
That's the show. I get drunk and you host. That sounds like a great dynamic.
So, Pete, what do you think about the cornerbacks the Chargers been throwing out there? Huh?
The quarterbacks? Oh my God. It's so funny, like the players that I end up knowing. I feel like a talking point when I listen to podcasts is that people will talk about the Packers and they'll be like, yeah, and Jair Alexander is not going to play again this week. I'm like, okay, all right. So now I know that Jair Alexander plays for the Packers defense and has apparently been out for a while. I learn all of my defensive nuggets from fantasy analysts who just casually toss their names around.
My defensive player knowledge was when I used to play Madden. And you'd have to know like specific backs and stuff like that. Other than that, like who gives a shit?
It still tilts people like because it became a bit of a bit on ship chasing when I mentioned that I went to the sauna during ship chasing. And like there's some people that get like really upset that you talk about football, but you don't watch every second of every game. Like that makes people mad.
There's a whole bunch of morons out there. So that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
And I will say, like, I will completely admit, I listen to, so like Sean Siegel over at RotoViz is one of my favorite fantasy football analysts. And I know he watches every game and I can listen to him talk and I hear how he applies the nuance to things. And I do really think that there can be some value in it in the right hands, but just like this blanket statement that you can't be good at fantasy or you can't be good at DFS if you don't watch every second of every game is pretty absurd.
That's crazy. I'd say it's you kind of want to say the opposite, but like the whole petty theft, chess is okay, Steve Buzzard, also 80 hours a week DFS thing is like, for me, like it's like the 0.101% of guys can do that. Like not work that hard, but like benefit from it significantly.
Yeah. And I had Rich Rebar on my show last week and I'm having Karain on my show on Friday. And I feel like one thing I've been talking to him about, because he's been doing really well in DFS and these small field tournaments, and he's super in the weeds. Not from a game watching perspective per se, but just in the analytics. And he writes up that mega walkthrough post for NBC Sports Edge. And I was curious, for him, how you get married to certain situations, right? Because you're like, oh, this looks like such a mismatch. This is such a good spot. And I think he's found a really good balance in like, using those as leans, using those as tiebreakers, but like if the projections or the ownership isn't bearing out that that's a good play, you just got to fucking detach yourself from that sentiment you had from your research.
Yeah, and I mean this stuff. Well, I don't know. He's doing small field. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I love that small field strategy. It's not for me, but for the larger stuff, we've talked about this a million times. I say I don't think someone can keep all that in their head and calculate it all properly, and you're gonna like double count things and like I don't know, and like what's the difference? So like when I was doing all projections for all sports, probably like 20. When did I start? Like late 2014 up until 2018 for sure, exclusively just my stuff. Like it's kind of fun, like figuring out how to make projections and like go from like, say a guy's projected at 20 points and you get him at 22.6 or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like that kind of stuff is cool. And then when you enter in enter in and you're different, but you're probably different in the right spots and stuff because everyone else is using crap. Like that's not like that fun to me anymore.
Yeah.
And also it's like a lot of work. And first of all, you got to keep up the database and keep up everything and update it. And it's a lot of work, but like and it's not from 20 to 22.6. It's like 20 to 20.4 or something.
Yeah.
And like the whole GTO and trying to figure out that side of the stuff is way more the last 2-3 years, way more interesting for me of like, okay, what can I mess around with on the back end here to gain that way?
I think the thing I'm now running into is I feel confident in my ability to build smart lineups, but I also feel like a little bit of the blender stuff to play whoever you want. I'm like, I could look at like 5 or 6 quarterbacks or stacks or certain games and be like, I feel like I can build smart lineups around these things. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to make 3 or 4 lineups. And I don't actually feel strong enough about being like, oh, this is the one lineup and angle that I want to take more so than this one. And that's where I think Pat's been succeeding a little bit, is just feeling a little bit stronger about certain situations. Those plays end up in my lineups, but I'm like, well, this 2v2 projects similar to this one. I just shrug my shoulders. I don't really care, kind of thing.
I mean, if you don't originate and you don't have some sort of big process to come up with this stuff, that's all you can do is like use tiebreakers, use the game theory and guess, and guess. And some guys can be really good at it. And I'm not even putting it down at all. I'm just saying,
yeah,
it's not for me, basically.
Yeah. I haven't talked to you recently about kind of your system and in the sims and stuff. Have you been rerunning a bunch of sims for different contest sizes, or like what contests have you been focusing on lately?
No, yeah. Well, for NBA, I've got a whole bunch of new stuff. For football, I've just been getting my ass handed to me night after night, except in Showdown. But like, and I haven't adjusted for lower fields, but I think actually I've come up with something where I can probably piece it together. It's just a lot of time.
Yeah,
and I mean, all the fields I play there's a lot. Like even the Wildcat. How many people are in the Wildcat? Thousands, right? I think.
Yeah.
And it's like you can make adjustments for that, obviously. But
right.
Right now the strategy for me is get something middle of the road and then apply it to everything that's around it. It'll basically be about the same. You know, like the jab step in the NBA. You don't play NBA, but that's kind of like a 6,000 man, 5,000 man tournament. But it has a lot of good players in it, so the ownership's going to be a little higher.
Yeah,
like that's kind of in between the whatever the $800 one is. I can't remember in NBA.
Yeah,
and the big field one. So like, I think there's not solving for that, and then putting them in both of them is fine. Or even if you could do the Osmo strategy, make 300.
Yeah. When you say things haven't been going as well for you in NFL, is that just small sample size, bad side of variance for you, or is there any part of it where you're like, I do want to rethink some things?
That's a good. No, I'm always rethinking things. Always rethinking things. Yeah, it doesn't even matter if I'm winning. The slope of my graph is a little skeptical. I'd like to see someone else's that I respect, see what theirs looks like. Because the 1% outcomes is fine, but the slope of the graph is flat. And I'm in between whether that's okay or if I'm fucking it up. And because like a slope of an NBA GPP rotor tracker or whatever would be like a whole bunch of 1%ers, and then it kind of gradually goes down. Where my NFL one is a whole bunch of 1%ers, and then it's flat. And there's a lot of shitty ones in there because either I'm fucking up or I'm running bad. But I feel like it should be closer to the NBA one, but not because kind of like I wouldn't even hate like in these kind of crazy sports like PGA crazy variants. I'm saying that I could see the chart kind of looking flatter with and you're just they all kind of have a chance of hitting 1%, but also like you could easily shit the bed in these high variance sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. In the beginning of the season, there was my sim had some errors that I found. So that probably definitely was not helping. You can still get lucky with that though. I just didn't.
Well, explain to it just so we know what that means or what your thesis on why your NFL one or sorry, your NBA one isn't as flat. Like what would be kind of the difference between those dynamics?
Because the players are more predictable. Like you should be closer to whatever your outcomes you're planning for on a night by night basis. Where
so you're saying in NFL your outcomes are actually more kind of median?
No. That just like you could the difference between like a 1% outcome and then that lineup finishing in the bottom 5% can easily happen in like high variance sports. And I'm saying I'm not sure. I have to look into it more. I usually don't even look at rotor tracker stuff ever, anyways.
Yeah.
But since I've been getting my ass kicked, I'm like, okay, let me take a gander here. And so I'm not sure if that's right or not. It could definitely be. It could definitely be wrong.
So how do you go about doing that when you mentioned that you found maybe some errors in your model earlier, other than just kind of results and being like, normally I feel like I'm winning a little bit more. Like how do you debug that or figure out what's the error?
Right. And the another thing too, Pete, there is I have 7 slates, I think, in there. Something like that. No, wait, I guess it is more than 7, isn't it? 9?
We're entering week 11.
So I guess 10 slates. And then the NBA already have like triple that or something, or quadruple that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, repeat your question. I did have an answer, but I lost my
my question was like, how do you go about debugging or trying to figure out where things might be going wrong?
So Petty's in the chat here too. So like my answer probably wouldn't help anybody. So like I bet Petty like would go through his process, which is probably very different than mine. If he's in a downswing or whatever, he has an idea and he's coming up with something new. So like for me, I would just go, I know what I'm doing. So I'll go, and I don't mean like I know what I'm doing, I'm smart. I mean like I know what my process is exactly. So like I would just go okay, it's not the sim anymore. I fixed that.
Yeah.
Right. And you could check that stuff.
Yeah.
You just be like, Tyreek Hill, 198 yards on average. Something's wrong there. He's probably not averaging 198 yards.
Yeah.
Right. So you could easily check that. There's a whole bunch of ways to check your opponents and what you're doing and stuff like that. But just like on each step, I can't really go into it because I don't want to give anything away.
No, I know.
Although I'm getting my ass handed to me, so maybe I should give it away. Fucking other people can lose.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, like, yeah, too, if you're like looking at, really weird, you have like 50% of a guy and the field has 15%, and you're like, am I, pressing my edge on this situation or do I have an input on
the opposite? The opposite. I thought that's something we could talk about too, is like the efficiency of the field. Remember this happened last year when I was DMing you and probably week 12 or something. I'm like, do you notice like the field is getting a lot closer to what the ownership's being projected on the sites?
Yeah. And
then like when I would run something, I'd get like even with the field on a lot of players. And then like James Robinson would pop or something like that back then. But like, it's like that's not a good sign. We don't want that. We want ownership to be all to wrong. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be dead on accurate. And with football, this is what I was thinking. I was driving here from Chicago, and I'm like, I wonder if like there's like so much content. All these guys have all week to think about it. There's not that much tricky injury news and stuff like that. It's like a little bit, but not a lot.
It's not.
It's not a ton. Okay, how many carries is McCaffrey going to get?
To you NBA bros, it's nothing.
Well, yeah, and like MLB and stuff like that, there's not as much information and stuff like that. But like McCaffrey this past weekend, it's like by Sunday, all these guys, Levitan and Osimo and whatever they're putting out there, like it's probably going to be right. You know what I mean? And if there's props on there and stuff like that, it's like, why aren't these getting hammered then? Why aren't these props getting smashed if they're so off and, you know, you're so smart?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw or any of my stuff from this past week, but we've now had a couple weeks with super almost abnormal percentages on what we thought were going to be contrarian plays. Like this week, it was Mike Williams, who everyone had projected between 5 to 8%. Everyone had Keenan Allen as the chalkier option in the Chargers game. And then we go and look at all of the mid to high stakes single entry 3-max contests. And Mike Williams fucking 25% owned. Keenan's like 12%. And I assume it's a factor of things largely driven by content. It was also the late slate. So I think there was probably some swaps in there as well of people thinking they were pivoting to the more contrarian option. But I feel like some of this leveling element and the content element of like, if every fucking GPP show looks at the early week projections and ownership projections, like Mike Williams is the nice pivot, by the end of the week, he's the fucking chalk, like the stone cold chalk and just an atrocious play. It happened with Marquise Brown the week before. And I feel like I'm seeing that to a bigger degree this year.
Yeah. Well, that would be kind of the opposite of what I was saying, where it's like, it's becoming more and more efficient. I guess maybe not the opposite, but like what you're saying that it goes, because you said it goes to a bad play where then that would mean he's over owned and now you could go under.
Well, because so my hypothesis is there is like a group of people doing, so like I think the GPP bros, a shadowy cabal of GPP bros that listen to Leone and Dink establish the million. They watch On the Contrary with Osimo. They listen to Blender and Buy 'em 4. They watch my shows, and we are all looking at the same number.
Right.
The same numbers, and we all see the same things, and we all react in the same way. And that tide shifts in such a big way that it's like we're now playing a game of chicken with each other almost.
Yeah. There's something in NBA kind of like that. I don't want to talk about it actually because I think it's kind of a little edge no one knows about. But I could definitely see it. I mean, the problem is like, so I said efficient. Maybe that's the wrong term, because if it was efficient, then no one can win. You know what I mean? Which clearly isn't true yet.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just more predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ownership is getting, because even in the Williams example, sure, yeah, but I mean, there's 140 guys projected and owned, right? So I want to hear about yours too.
Yeah.
We should team up, Petty, when we get banned.
Petty, you can come back on the show sometime, man.
He'll do the 80 hours a week shit, and then I'll run the numbers in the back end, and we'll have our syndicate just entering lineups for us, taking all your guys' money.
Yeah. Well, so what? I mean, speak more generally. What's just about stuff going on in NBA for you?
And I don't know. I just really like this best process I've ever had.
How new is it? Like you just altered it really recently, or
no? I could put it on R from Excel and Excel like stats programs I paid for.
Yeah,
but because I'm working with a guy who does R, and he knows DFS too, so
that's helpful.
Very helpful. And yeah, because working with the coders from Pakistan is like, because I'm trying to do one for trying to get an MLB prop price simulation thing going like I have for the other sports. And I'm starting now because I always get, and he's like, I know cricket. I don't know baseball.
Wait,
So
Is
one
he-
B plus two Bs. Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say, does he live in India?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you say cricket. I just assumed India for cricket. If he knows that sport really well,
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
really
He's
know.
in Pakistan. It's big in Pakistan and in India.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And did you just I feel like that's unusual probably to find, 'cause when you were looking for this person, were you specifically querying for someone who was familiar with DFS, or was that just a lucky happenstance?
No, it's a guy approached me. And then he
Wow.
started like showing me some art stuff he's doing. And then he just won me over.
He took you guys.
And he's moving in next week. No.
What was our show we were talking about last week? 2 houses, 2 million.
Oh,
What was it?
2 months, 2 million. I swear, I still think Gelfand was on that fucking show. I don't know what's going on with that memory, but
That's the DFS version. Bric's Pakistani coder moves. just a DFS buddy comedy. Yeah, what was I gonna say? And so it's not so it's the processes are different enough that you can't just port it over to NFL. They are two separate types of things.
no, it's all the same. It's all the same general thesis. Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And just dialing it in more and adding some other ideas.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about, because I saw you tweet it. I saw, Osimo, and then Justin Freeman from Run the Sims had tweeted out this idea about parlays and basically pushing plus EV edges with parlays, with the thesis kind of being, in general, parlays get a bad rap of being negative EV. And we keep seeing, I think initially people saw these Osimo screenshots. I think he had another one tonight with like a 16 leg parlay for $1 million. And I think a lot of people just assume, oh, this is just a funny bit. And Justin was actually looking into it and saying this could actually be a sharp way to maximize your edges. What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the general idea was if you have an edge, you parlay it, your edge is even more, which is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons you don't want to do parlays is because you can line shop and just get a better line somewhere else. Even if you have an edge.
What you really need is a decentralized exchange sports book where you can string together parlays across different sites to line shop and parlay.
That'd be interesting. I did take some shit in my reply to him though, because it's like you only have 147 characters, so like these or whatever the fucking character limit is, and so like you can never. What's the law? Like Cunningham's law or whatever, where it's if you want to find out the answer to a question, just give the incorrect one online.
Dude, have I told you that? How I will, I write the Fantasy Life newsletter every single day, and just like crickets, no feedback goes out to a massive email list. I had a typo one day, and I got 6 DMs from people I'd never interacted with telling me I had a typo. I'm like, this is how I get engagement. You just fucking put a mistake or have some kind of lag, and people love coming out of the woodwork for that.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right. And mine was, and I tried to like frame it, where everything's understood, but it's kind of hard. Was like to look for correlations, like weather. We've talked about this before. Like, let's say there's 2 stadiums right next to each other, and the weather's going to be really bad that day. Well, you could take the under on rushing yards. I don't know, right? The point of it was think about things, like in these type of ways. I'm not saying I know all the correlations, like the ones that they'll still allow. So, and then the other one was like QB and the opponent wide receiver, right? So you're not gonna be able to parlay that. But then I said in like the very 3 words later, in single bets, not parlays, single prop bets. So I'm like, that's fine. It won't get misunderstood. And then I had like 3 or 4 people like, you can't prop bet same game. You can't parlay the same game. Parlay? Oh, they still allow it? Sarcastically.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, it happens everywhere. What was the other one? I always know it was a whole bit on Living the Stream, JJ and Denny Carter, where, they recommend, streamers, guys to pick up in your league. And it was a whole bit where people go, he's not available in my league. And it's like, well, they're just kind of fucking generally giving advice
Right.
for as many people as possible. Not in my league. It's just like people are so fucking literal and numbskulled with this stuff. It's like we're trying to directionally make points. Like you can't encompass every single fucking specific scenario.
Right. And like maybe I shouldn't even, okay, because I was thinking before I tell you, I'm like, oh, this actually might help too many people. Maybe I shouldn't even say it. But now I won't. Like because it's like people will blindly. I've noticed like when I post props, people just like blindly bet them, and it's like, well, you don't blindly bet them. Like at least look at like. And the example I gave was just like two big men on the same team over rebounds. Let's say both individually are plus EV. Like you might not want to take both of them because the one guy is going to take rebounds from the other guy.
Right.
So you can just pick one. You pick the one you like in line shop. Just common sense kind of the way to look at all these prop bets. I mean, you still probably can make money on both of them, but it would depend. And it's like, okay, where are you getting your money from? Do they have all the correlations perfectly aligned on this too? So maybe they don't, and then both of those bets wouldn't be profitable at the same time too. So like keep your eye on that. Think about correlate.
Yeah. People love missing the forest for the trees with that stuff. But I do think that concept is interesting. I've been tilting more lately about just not having legalized sports betting in Massachusetts. I've been wanting to kind of attack some more lines with stuff, and like, ETR and the Run the Sims tools, I've been feeling like I have some good edges on some spots. And then it's like, if I'm betting on fucking Bovada and they don't post the lines until like 2 hours before the game, and then I'm fucking busy on Sundays with DFS and I don't have time to bet, and everyone who's getting to bet on DraftKings and FanDuel and these other books, and I'm like, it sucks right now not being able to take advantage of some of that stuff.
The whole arc of this thing just pisses me the fuck off. It doesn't really piss me off, people, but like, it could piss someone off. Is like these casinos, Sheldon Ellison, whatever, they keep the sports books offline so you don't get to play it. Then eventually you get some, you get it later. You bet the props, you win, they fucking limit you.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you guys. Like, why can't Pete bet right now? And then eventually it's going to get legal, and there'll be no consequences. No, not the people who were keeping it down. Like, no, doesn't matter.
No, yeah,
it was just legal. You couldn't do it. Sorry, fuck you. Actually, we'll throw some people in jail. How about that?
I know, and I'm even like hesitant to go down this rabbit hole because we've talked about this a bunch over the past year or so. Because I feel like we start to sound like a broken record, but it is just massively frustrating and incongruent with just so much out there. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, it doesn't, especially Boston. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I bumped into, when I was in New York, I bumped into John, as we call him on the Swolecast, Aguiar, from DraftKings. I met him for the first time, and I was just like, when is this going to happen? Because they're obviously very well connected with the state and the legislature in Massachusetts, and even they are just kind of shrugging their shoulders and just don't know, like, when is this going to come around? Because you would think with DraftKings based in Massachusetts that there would be some extra greasing of the wheels there, maybe, and then compared to other spots, but like that's just how it's played out.
It's what, Foxwoods, and what's the other big one around there?
Well, those are in Connecticut.
They've been donating to these politicians for 50 years or something.
Yeah.
There's a long relationship that they have.
Yeah. So who knows? Hopefully soon, but it would be nice to be able to dive into that more. And like I've legitimately, so I've been doing stuff with Betsperts, and I've been like tracking my bets over there and like trying to do a combo of like having fun with it and also not, bullshitting and it's really hard. I've like talking about the bets I'm making and also making sure I have skin in the game on the bets like I'm recommending has been really fucking hard. And like I've been mainly talking about sides and over-unders because that's what everyone has access to and I have access to. But like the prop stuff has been super tough. And then people are like, well, I got this line here. I don't have this one here. And in just doing that kind of content makes you quickly realize like how hard that is to pull off in general, much less when everyone doesn't have access to the same books.
Yeah. Actually, I started writing out, remember how we talked about, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, that like vote app idea I had, like combined with like crypto?
Refresh my memory. I vaguely remember it.
So it's like Miami coin. Remember we talked about Miami?
Oh yeah.
And Miami coin, they're like blowing up. Did you see that? Not blowing up, but like they were on the Pop podcast.
Were they really?
They have New York City coin coming, and that their new mayor Adams has already said, he's down. He's taking some of his paycheck in Bitcoin. And there's like everyone's getting excited about it. I'm like, Miami coin fucking sucks balls. Why can't people see this? Like
Miami coin sucks balls.
Miami coin sucks balls. Like it's like if you're a crypto bro, how can you fall for this? Like, how could you like this at all? I could see someone like Matic who loves our government so much, but like but like if you're a real crypto bro, like all it is, and they said this in the podcast, it's a donation to your government.
Yeah.
Like who's fucking doing that? Who's like paying their taxes and they go, you deserve a little more. What crypto bro is cutting off their like Bitcoin? How much? That's too much Bitcoin. The government needs a little bit of, they're gonna do a good job with it.
No, they're like, what if we could make extra taxes cool? Like, I mean, isn't that what it is?
So here's their argument. So to steelman them a little bit is it like the mining fees could come from anywhere. So people are giving the residents the treasury free money. So like, okay, fine. Let's just say that the Miami people are just getting free money there. It's still in the city treasury. It's run by politicians. So it's at the whims of politicians. So it doesn't like they can give it to you. They could take it away. They could spend it on something else. So it's just another piece of the budget. Like it doesn't mean like, oh, Miami's going to get all this free money. It can change in the blink of an eye. And like Suarez is in charge now, right? He's huge into Bitcoin, but he could easily, he probably will. He seems like he has political aspirations. He'll be on to governor or senator or run for president. Who knows? Like someone else is going to get in there. And so it's like, okay, now you're giving them it's up to almost like over 20 million already, the fund.
It's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, I just think it's like the whole problem with government is incentives and consequences issue. We talk about this. They have the wrong incentives, right? Where they will like the gambling problem in Boston. They have a relationship with these casinos. The casinos give them money. They're only there for a few years, so their time preference is off. They will go, get their buddies and kids and friends' kids jobs through the private sector, through using their influence in the public sector, right? And then there's no consequences for any of this shit. So like that's what my idea was is so a legislator has to like use this app that's hooked up on the blockchain, and the constituents vote on the bills, and whatever they vote for, that legislator goes in there and presses the button, voting for this one, not voting for that one, voting for this one, not voting for that, and then they get incentivized from the fund. So instead of the fund going anywhere, it's just a decentralized fund, right? That's like accumulating interest. Same idea, 30% coming from the miners' fees. That's building up over time. And every time you vote, you get a little bit of coin, and you could maybe get a token, and then you could use that for governance and stuff like that. And the legislator also gets money paid out over time, so you can expand their time preference from high to low. And then if they don't vote for what their constituents want, the constituents say that can like have a majority vote to say that they don't get any of the fund. And the fund eventually could outweigh any benefits they get from the power of the state.
Yeah.
especially at the state and local level. These guys in Illinois, the reps, they're making like 45 a year. You know, the senators are making like, I don't know, 60, 75, something like that. It's not a ton of money. Like most of the power comes from getting people jobs, connections, and then helping out, you know, businesses and stuff like that.
What do you think is, you know, very generally speaking, you know, local governments and governments, you know, embracing crypto in a bastardized way like Miami coin, or shunning it, it's the boogeyman trying to legislate it in a way where they clearly don't understand it. Like, which one's worse?
So this is what I want to add in this is there's an incentive for both user and legislator to vote crypto-friendly bills, right? And there already is if they're all getting paid from the fund. So why would the legislator do anti-crypto bills when they're going to cost themselves this free money? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like a built-in incentive consequence system away from government, decentralized. That has nothing to do with them. And you could also, you could do it a whole bunch of different ways. Like, so the fund could pay out to the constituents, like it could pay their taxes. And so like that would incentivize them to, you know, vote more cautiously, right? We talked about this last week that polls show two things. Voters want less taxes and more services, right?
Yeah.
Something, you know, so like it aligns all the incentives properly. And so like if you could bring in revenue from gaming and lower the tax burden, that's more money for the voters, right? So they would vote for it. They would probably just vote for it anyways.
Right.
So like if a legislator can't go in there and just vote for lobbyists, like, you know, the lobbyists of their choice, they have to do what the constituent says. They lose all those incentives. And then you'll attract legislators too. So like the fund, the New York City fund, it's already going. So when Adams gets in there, it's going to have, you know, millions and millions of dollars in there. So like the fund's just sitting there waiting for crypto-friendly people to run for office.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the exact same thing with Miami coin, except you change the incentives to more government, more free money for the government that they have total political power over to the voter with consequences laid out for both of them.
Yeah. It does seem like you were saying with the, a lot of this stuff still feels so, you know, a generational divide of just waiting for the next generation who is more crypto tech savvy. You even see, like, I know Peter Jennings with the legislator in Denver that he knows that he's worked with on some of these DFS and sports betting bills. And he's a younger guy who gets it. Like, but those archetypes are still few and far between throughout, you know, governments.
Yeah. That shit's never going to work. They're never going to do what you want. You have no power. You have no idea what's going on there. I mean, I work there. Like, you think you know what's going on at your local, like the bureaucrat's desk and decisions they're making, much less what bills are on your legislator's desk. Like, you have no clue what's going on. Very little what's going on. You have to change the incentives and consequences.
Right.
Like if you vote for drug laws, ruin someone's fucking life, and then change your mind, you should at least resign. You know what I mean? Like, you should at least be like, holy shit, I ruined a bunch of people's fucking lives here.
Well, isn't that, I mean, that was what, isn't that what Taleb's book too about in Skin in the Game? And he used the example about, you know, if you build a bridge and it fucking collapses and people die, like, you should be held fucking accountable because you built a bad bridge. But the current system right now, you build a bad bridge, it's like, well, your contract's done, and it just, you shrug your shoulder and move on.
Certainly. Yeah. Yeah. And some of these too is like short-term, long-term solutions too is tough. Like if and this is another thing why I hate Miami coin, I like something similar to my idea, is because, like, don't we think the long-term solution is getting the money back into the people's hands and away from the Fed bank and away from the money printing, and then we could choose how to spend it and there's nothing they could do about it, right? So like, you want to incentivize crypto people to be in the office and people to vote for crypto-friendly bills to protect and achieve that, right? So you give them crypto. You just fucking bribe them.
Yeah.
With and then they can go, and it's also it's democracy. Everyone fucking loves democracy, right? And so it's democracy in action. So there's tons of just the app alone is a good political campaign, right? I'm going to vote for exactly what my constituents want.
Yeah. We're alienating our audience. Lichmo Codister earlier said he says, I like it, but I don't understand it, but I support it. Petty went, I don't know, to make dinner, came back and said, I mean, this is the Lulz experience.
Yeah, what do you guys expect?
They want us to talk about Ben the Better or something like that, I think.
He got a big role.
What's that?
So he got a big role. He's got that role in 3 Men and a Better.
I know.
DK's next big series.
I had to get some use out of that photo. I put it on the thumbnail. Did you see that?
Yeah, that looks hilarious.
Is that Marcos doing those photoshops for you?
Marcos did that one too. Yeah. Shout out Marcos. Appreciate it.
It was because it was last week we were watching the trailer clips for episode 1, the teasers, and then episode 1 came out shortly after. It must have been Thursday or Friday. What was your reaction to the first, what was it, like a 6-minute episode?
Yeah, short. That's my reaction. Yeah. That was short. And shouldn't they have another one out by now? Or is it tomorrow then?
You would think so. I mean, it's appointment viewing.
Right. Yeah.
I will say it was my fear kind of came true. And I mentioned it last week where it's like, I want to be a fly on the wall of these guys hanging out and get some really organic conversations. And it was a lot of staged, forced conversations that, we love Osmo, we love Tom Kennedy, but I know they didn't fucking have that conversation.
The acting was beautiful.
Yeah,
I want more acting.
I will say some of the screen grabs I got, like the whistles go woo was so fucking memeable. I mean, the backwards mini shot, the pointing to his fucking, what was that? Like a wall of computers at the University of Connecticut?
Oh, we got to meme that. We have to meme that one.
My God, I have like 3 or 4 screenshots saved, and we do actually need to create some.
I mean, one of them. Did you see that one?
What was the one you did? I missed it. I probably missed it.
The Impractical Jokers one.
Oh, okay. I think I did see that one. Yeah. And what was Alex today posted a photo doing push-ups?
Yeah. Looked like he was doing a little bit.
Well, he had shared the video from Big T, so I assume it was footage from when they were in Miami. Here, let's pull this up here. Here's Alex. Very wide position here on these push-ups, but pretty solid form otherwise. I don't really have any disagreements with this.
I think there's a large contingent of people out there who don't approve of your judging to begin with there, Pete. So.
I was just going to say, it was because it was back-to-back weeks where Leone beat A Raven in the Thunderdome last week, and then I think A Raven won it this week. And A Raven tagged me in some push-up judge comment. I still see, I mean, who is it? Draft G, A Raven. There is a shadowy cabal of people who are still extremely tilted by the push-up challenge judging.
Oh, I'm sure there's some people. Draft cheats over it. I wonder who lost the most. I lost $1,000.
Look, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell
you. You were my advisor.
I know, that's what you're saying. I didn't think Bales was going to be able to do it, and then people are actually mad at me for thinking.
What was the total? I don't remember. What was the over under?
Was it
3,000?
No, wasn't it like 2,300 or 20? It was somewhere in like the mid two. Maybe it was 2,500. I want to say it was like 22 or 2,300. I don't know, something random. I can't remember.
No, it wasn't enough. Whatever the fuck it was.
Also, I did just notice in this video here, do you see the boom mic here? So this is, you could see we got the DraftKings team here in the top left.
Yeah, and I'm assuming there's a camera in front of him because he does like some little pose for the camera.
I mean, DraftKings, come follow Brian and I around for a weekend. Let's head out to the cabin in Chicago. We'll give you some
me and Pete are really worried about Big T and Whistles Go. Whoa. How was that? Was that good?
I'll be like, I was really worried about Mike Williams getting steamed in the SPY this week. And boy, did that happen. I thought he was going to come in at 9%. And instead, he came in at 30%.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. You were trolling my 8-year-old photo. You were acting like that is not the look of a boy who would go bear fishing.
Who would eventually, try to say he could give out lessons on barehanded fishing.
I mean, I think maybe our wires got crossed here. I didn't realize you were like doing deep sea fishing where you were pulling out fish that had fucking spikes coming out of their, scales. Like I just pull a nice little trout out of the ocean. I mean,
trout. No, I'm not. It's totally uncalled. The gloves are completely uncalled for. And I deserve everything I get.
Can we just please? I don't think I've seen this person in our chat ever, Rushia. It just comes out of the woodwork to get all horned up over Pillow Girl. Man, talk about like a blast from the past throwback. So it's like almost a year and a half ago now, right? Because it's probably April or May of the pandemic.
Something like that, yeah.
The two like big events I remember I remember for me, early pandemic is Lowell starts, the RG Poker Open that was live streamed, and then fucking Tommy G came on at like 1 a.m. on that live stream. And then the push-up challenge. Like those were like the 3 tentpole events for me in those first few months. And I want to say it must have been mid-April to late April. And the Bales event was what we all needed to get through that time.
That was definitely when nothing was going on. Because then we had our MMA live stream with Randone came on and stuff, but that was when MMA was like the only sport to come back.
Yeah, I almost played. Have you been? How have the MMA streets been? I've been like taking Saturday as my day off, but I've been kind of itching to do some MMA DFS.
2 weeks ago, I could have won. I had a solo. Oh God, who was fighting? I needed the other side to win in the 5-rounder, and he lost.
Yeah.
The
prize pools though are still pretty good.
Yeah, that the pandemic wasn't good for everyone, but it was pretty good for MMA DFS.
Dude, I just had another like flashback to that where I remember, when things were getting shut down and Rogan, who's the head of UFC? What's his name?
Dana White.
They're like the same guy in my mind, Joe Rogan and Dana White. They kind of look alike too. And Dana White was just like, no, dude, the show must fucking go on. And I remember being like, I'd really gotten into MMA DFS, and I said, I need to savor these last few slates because you could tell it was close to all getting canceled. And I remember just absolutely savoring a Saturday afternoon MMA slate in fucking Brazil. I think it was. It was because it was the only show in town. I mean, it was fucking who is our golfer, outlaw golf tour and Brazilian MMA events.
What was that guy's name? The outlaw golfer who missed the tournament.
Our guy Hoffman.
Yeah, Hoffman. Sure. Noah Hoffman.
Yeah.
MMA was going so strong. They had like Wednesday night slates too. Remember Wednesday night slates, Saturday slates.
That was sweet.
Yeah, that was awesome. They should bring that back.
That was sweet.
It should be Thursday or Tuesday.
It's so funny too how like, at the time you feel so starved for action, and right now you're like, yeah, it'd be nice kind of if there's just only one thing going on, and it just I just played MMA DFS, so that was the one thing. I don't know. It was a weird time, but it was very enjoyable.
That was the start of that fucking shirt you're wearing.
Oh, did you see my new shirt here?
I see it now. I was trying to wonder. I was like, what the hell does that say? Oh yeah. That was the start of it. League of Legends and MMA.
A lot of dupes in those sports.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of dupes.
Little known fact for a time.
Yes. Get your I will legitimately say the hoodies in the store are incredibly comfy. If you guys want a Lulz hoodie or a Don't Dupe Me Bro hoodie, link is down below. Super super comfy hoodies. I can actually highly vouch for the quality of the merch this go around. I know back before we had TeePublic, it was so. We upgraded it, and now you can walk around in the grocery store with a shirt that says "Don't dupe me, bro," and no one will know what it means. I was wearing my hand builder hoodie on Saturday, and I saw my in-laws and I saw my mother-in-law just like kind of crane her head looking at my hoodie, trying to figure out what the fuck I was wearing.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, let's see what else. BTB, he is on the opposite of a heater right now.
Oh yeah, he's not doing so hot.
It's been rough.
And I haven't been fading him either.
Yeah.
Lost a small fortune.
You could have. Yeah, it's tough sledding. I mean,
it doesn't seem possible.
It doesn't seem possible. And I notice in our Lulz Discord chat, and I see this pop up all the time, people not believing he's real. They think he's a character. They think he's a bit. I mean, you talked to him on a call. You didn't see him, but you talked to him. You heard his voice. Like, I refuse to believe that this is anything but real.
Oh yeah. Well, even if it's fake, who's ever faking it, it's amazing. It's so far outside, like how many standard deviations outside of normal.
Like I could legitimately try to lose at that clip, because if you think about it, right? Like if the lines are so efficient that, a goldfish can go around 50%, it would stand to reason that being incredible at sports betting or being awful at sports betting would be equally hard. Like to those magnitudes.
Someone needs to do a data analysis of this data. I feel like it's definitely a 1% outcome, maybe worse. And you know what I think part of it is? People like getting on the fade train. We're talking about Ben the Better here for people who aren't following us. It's like Bitcoin kind of, where like, all the people who've always hated Bitcoin were like, 10,000 is too much. I'll wait till it gets down to 5. We're like, 30,000 is too much. I'll wait till it gets down to 60,000 is too much. I'll wait till it gets down to 40. And it's like, they're like, okay, he lost 15 in a row now, so I'll wait till he has a good day. Then I'll get in and fade him. Right. And it's like, no, it just keeps going down. It's the opposite of Bitcoin.
It would be like going to the roulette table with Ben the Better, and it's like eight blacks come up in a row. And then you're like, okay, red has to come out. And it's just, no, Ben the Better, it's just black.
That is a fucking great idea. We should pay to fly him out. This would be a good show. Pay to fly him out, and we'll fade his craps game. We'll take him to the casino. We'll fade him. We'll go to the sports book. We'll fade him.
That idea, I was literally about to say something similar, which is like DraftKings. Like just scrap the thing with Osmo, Big T, and Whistles.
Oh, I want to see that.
Just pay fucking Ben the Better $50,000 to make a documentary series about him. I mean, we would fucking consume the shit out of that.
It can't be DraftKings though, because he's losing, and so they look bad. Right? They got to hide that most people lose at sports betting.
All right, we're gonna find an independent.
We need an independent filmmaker.
We're gonna create a DAO to raise money to fund this production.
Oh my God, it would be. I'd definitely watch it. And just if DraftKings listening, please release the GOAT. Like that's more content for us, Pete. Like we have to see how this turns out. I'm sure there's gonna be some gold stuff in there. But yeah, that. Someone with him would be fantastic, but he doesn't like being on camera or whatever. Like he won't do anything.
Yeah. And I'll show you, like, so my Betspert record right now is bad. Like, so the thing that sucks about it is I've done good on props, but their props tracker Like you can't, they don't have a tracker for props. So this is just my record betting sides and totals here. And I'm 33, 37 and 1, 47.1 for 0.4% win-loss record here, -8 units. So this is what someone trying what their record looks like,
Right.
trying to beat sides and not moving on lines quickly. Like I'm betting these or I'm tracking these later in the week. Like I'm not doing this optimally.
Well, it looks like you're mainly sides and totals in the NFL.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's like the second hardest market on the planet. And
but I'm just saying,
he's
like,
betting everything.
He's betting everything
and props and stuff.
I don't need, it'd be so fucking hard to do worse than that. Cause you're just flipping a coin every time.
What if we gave him, I'm trying to think of this show. We give him a role. It's like Brewster's Millions, like Ben the Better's Millions, right? Like you give him a role and like, you got to come out of this with nothing or $1 million or something, right?
Yeah. It would be
or the opposite. Yeah, and then you just fade them the whole time and just.
It's crazy. It's true. And I get where people are coming. People did it with the counselor too. They're like, this has to be a bit. And I'm like, I don't think it's a bit. I do think it's just something magical that's happening.
These two things aren't synonymous though, because like the counselor, okay, so the counselor could be, yeah, he could be a fake personality, but he's not putting his bets up there tracked. Everyone can see it and have like a 4 standard deviation outside the norm outcome.
Right.
Or whatever. I mean, it's huge. He could be a complete fraud and it's still amazing.
Do you know what's interesting too, thinking about the two great betting personalities? Like if this is the year of Ben the Better, a lot of people forget that our generations or previous generations, Ben the Better was the cash out king. And the cash out king social media strategy was basically the inverse, right? Where you didn't really publicly talk about your plays. It was like hidden in a Telegram group. And then you just posted the receipts and the tickets of your big winners, right? Where Ben the Better is like the opposite, and that he like posts all of his plays, but never has a winning ticket to show. Like no one's ever seen a big Ben the Better winning ticket.
Yeah. And this is why he should like show his face. Like that takes balls, man. Like he's at least he's doing it. I know you agree with me. I'm just saying.
I 100% agree with him. Yeah. I literally don't have like, I have decently thick skin. I do not have the constitution to do like, even me just pulling up my record there on the screen here of my, like, I'm embarrassed by this. Like I track these picks and like, whereas at least with like DFS, like I don't feel embarrassed about it when I have a losing week because I know that I'm now a profitable player in the tournaments I play. And I feel like I have some sort of, expertise or whatever. Like it's fucking embarrassing to show that you're losing at something like over and over. And like the fact that he's able to go and just do that day after day it's honestly very commendable.
Yeah. And people like, oh, he's a fraud or whatever, or he's selling picks. It's like, it's your choice to subscribe to his Patreon and he puts all his info out there. So like, do it or don't, like, shut the fuck up. Like, I can't stand all those preachy people like you're selling picks and you're not plus EV. Yeah, everyone knows what's going on here, buddy. Shut the fuck up.
And again, we can talk about being a sports bettor. He fucking has built a brand. He has people all over this industry talking about him. We are talking about him. Blender talks about him nonstop. Osimo is in his mentions. Like the dude has built a fucking brand, and that's actually pretty hard to do.
Yeah. He's got to figure out how to monetize it.
He does, and I do. That is where I think.
What about this? What about a sit down, 1-on-1, Vegas Dave, Ben the Better, just record them chat for an hour? I would love to see that.
You're gonna have to have someone moderate that. Can I moderate it?
No. Let it just go.
They're not gonna be able to ask each other questions to facilitate an interesting.
Just lock the door.
Just two men huddled up in corners of a locked Padded room.
Yeah, that would be great. They think they're gonna die and like see what they like comes out of them. Like
Yeah.
Man, it was all a fraud. Ben, I am a fraud.
Yeah, and again, I'm torn because as a content consumer, I want to know more about Ben the Better and his story. Like, I'm curious, like, what is he up to during the day? How does he pay the bills? Does he have a side job? Does he have a nest egg? Like, how much is he actually betting? Like, I have all these questions. On the other side, the internet is fucking ruthless. I like compartmentalizing part of my personal life with my online content life, and I don't begrudge him for wanting to keep those things separately, because the problem is he can take people making fun of his bad picks, but it's a whole nother thing if people start making fun of your looks, they start making fun of your job and stuff like that. And we can all joke about his picks being shitty. I know where to walk up to the line. A lot of people don't know, and they fucking blow past that line and say awful stuff.
He will immediately get ripped on.
Exactly. And that's why it's like,
that will happen.
I don't blame him. And like, we invite him on this podcast. I wouldn't fucking come on this podcast.
How about this? We can have him come on. We'll do the whole, it just says, his logo on here. He doesn't have to show his face.
Yeah. I would be happy to do an audio version of that for him.
Maybe next time we talk to him, we'll offer that. And we have, I don't know what we've been averaging on between our two channels and podcasts, like just under 4,000 views about an episode. If we got him, how many do you think we'd have?
I think it'd do pretty well. I think it'd probably rival the chess episode.
So like 6,000-8,000, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, there still is like a cap level of interest, but
it's good pub for him.
It is. I think he would need to dial in whatever he was selling. Like,
well, we could probably convert some Patreon out of those 6,000 people. We would probably convert a couple.
Yeah. I'd also say in the same way I would buy Ben the Better merch, and
I would.
I'll also put this out, Ben the Better. If you have like a shirt idea or an Evil Empire idea, and maybe I'll message him, I would be happy to host it in my store and give him the profits or whatever that come from that, just so we could sell some Evil Empire Ben the Better merch for him.
That's a great idea. I mean, we bought Vegas Dave merch.
We did, and yeah, I mean, we can just cut out the middleman and give the profits right to BTB.
All right. You're here, Ben.
There we go. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in to a winding, rambling lulls episode in the only way we know how to do it. Brian and I will huddle this week to figure out our Thanksgiving show plans. Might be a different schedule than usual. All I can promise is that I will be drunk for the episode if we have it.
Yeah, good. That'll be fun. Someone's saying Cash Out King in my YouTube. Cash Out King's back on Twitter.
Is he? I missed that. I was legitimately a little worried about him.
Yeah.
Just his health, because we hadn't heard about him in a while.
Yeah, he said he attempted suicide and then he logged off his Twitter. It's like,
yeah, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the bottom of all these mysteries. We'll be back next week. We'll figure out the time. If you guys want to chat with us about show topics, we're in the Deposit Kingdom Discord in the Lulz channel. You can check out Brian's Discord, Brian's site, bric75.com, where he'll post PGA ownership, other props stuff. Check it out. See what him and his Pakistani coder are up to. Get those Lulz hoodies if you like. I recommend the one in white, super comfy. We will be back next week. You can get the audio version, as always, on your favorite podcast platform. For Brian Hooper, I'm Peter Overzet. We'll see you guys next week.